brief moments to share with you some recollections from that day. First, I have a story for you, as I always do. I like to start these things out with on a very somber note. The passengers on a luxurious cruise ship were having the time of their lives when one of the passengers, a beautiful young woman, fell overboard. As soon as the cries for help rang out, there was a rush of people to the side of the ship where she had fallen. One man went overboard and rescued the young lady. The crew of the ocean liner then pulled the woman and the man out of the dangerous waters. And when they were back on board, the captain was astonished to find that the man who had rescued this young lady was 80 years old. The captain made special arrangements to honor this gentleman at the evening meal. So an award was made up, and the elderly hero being presented with the award was asked if there was anything else he would like to do that evening. And he said, "The first thing I'd like to do this evening is find out who pushed me into the water." A hero is someone who does not have to be pushed into doing what is right. He or she does it simply because it is the right thing to do. Today is the anniversary of the terrorist bombings of September 11, 2001. The attention of our nation and the world is focused on remembering those who lost their lives and the families and friends who lost loved ones on that tragic day. The images and sounds of heroism remain in my mind to this day. Whether it is more than 300 firefighters who gave their lives in a burning inferno, or 3 fathers on board a hijacked jet who decided to rush a group of Islamic fanatics rather than allow their plane to be a tool in the hands of the enemies of our nation, America saw genuine heroism that day. We see the heroism of our military as they defend our nation against those who would destroy us. We must never forget the sacrifices that have been made and are being made by our brave soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines as our freedoms are being defended. And this afternoon, we are proud to have our special honorees from the various fire departments, emergency medical services, and obviously they never quit. Emergency medical services, sheriff's office, police department, and emergency management agency. We want to thank you for your acts of service and sacrifice that keep us safe and secure day after day. I truly believe that these individuals are hometown heroes and deserving of our prayers and support. The poet Homer wrote, "A society defines itself by those it calls heroes." Several years ago, researchers asked 2,000 American 8th graders to name prominent people that they considered to be heroes. Those most frequently mentioned by the teens as their heroes were sports figures and movie stars. These are not heroes. And this brings us to a very thought-provoking question. What are the marks of a true hero? I would like to share with you just one story of an incredible hero from that fateful day 10 years ago. Although there are hundreds of heroes, and all of them deserve to be remembered. His name was Wells Crowther. In college, he was an amazing lacrosse player. He was known for wearing a red bandana under his helmet, having a second red bandana tucked inside the back pocket of his pants. And it was not Wells Crowther's job to save anyone's life on September 11th. He worked for Sandler, O'Neill and Partners on the 104th floor of the South Tower of the World Trade Center as an equities trader. At about 9 o'clock in the morning, he was on the phone in his office. His body would later be recovered from the lobby along with the bodies of New York Fire Department firefighters. Having worked as a volunteer firefighter as a young man, when disaster struck, Wells Crowther sprang into action. I get a little torn up when I think about this, so I apologize in advance. They sat bloody and petrified, the lights out, smoke engulfing the room, and pain searing through their bodies. As far as they could tell, there was no escape from where they were in the South Tower, in pieces after being hit by United Airlines Flight 175. And then out of nowhere, a young man burst in and took control. In a strong, authoritative voice, he directed them to the stairway, veiled by darkness, wreckage, and haze, telling the injured to get out and the healthy to help them down. I see this incredible hero running back and forth and saving the day, recalled Judy Wine. In his mind, he had a duty to do, to save people. He's definitely my guardian angel. No ifs, ands, or buts. Because without him, we would be sitting there, waiting until the building came down, echoed Ling Young. Wine and Young were separated by a few minutes and a few floors that day. But they share a similar story and a single hero, Wells Crowther. Crowther has been credited with saving at least 18 lives that day, if not more. One of the people he helped escape keeps a framed photo of him in her home. He exited and entered the building at least 3 times, helping evacuate trapped victims. He ultimately perished when he entered the building with other firefighters, making their way up the South Tower with the jaws of life to 3 more people. The tower collapsed and his body was not recovered until March 19, 2002. Wells Crowther was an investment banker. He was not a firefighter or a police officer. He could easily have exited the building and got himself to safety with no shame whatsoever. Instead, he found the courage to go above and beyond what was required of him, helping many people out of the tower and saving countless lives. In John chapter 15, verse 13, the Lord tells us that greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Our honorees this afternoon are not in this for the money. They are not in it for the glory. They are willing to put their lives on the line for us. If it came right down to it, I am convinced that these individuals would be willing to give their own lives in order to save the life of another. Thankfully, they do not ask about your worthiness. They do not check your references when they get to the scene of your emergency. But what they do is simple. They save you because you need to be saved. This time I will call on Hamden firefighter Susie J. John to sing God Bless America.